Welcome back to day 118 of Daily Bread. We'll be reading in the book of Numbers, chapter 12, 2 Kings, chapter 2, Psalms 118, Proverbs 29, and from the book of Acts, chapter 14. We'll be in the Scriptures, 2009 version. Numbers, chapter 12. On page 153. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of the Cushite woman whom he had taken, for he had taken a Cushite woman. And they said, Has Yahweh spoken only through Moshe? Has he not also spoken through us? And Yahweh heard it. He hears everything. And the man Moshe was very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, You three, come out to the tent of appointment. So they came out to the tent. And Yahweh came down in a column of cloud and stood in the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both went forward. And he said, Hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yahweh, I make myself known to him in a vision and speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moshe. He is trustworthy in all my house. I speak with him mouth to mouth and plainly, and not in riddles, and he sees the form of Yahweh. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against him, and he left. And the cloud turned away from above the tent, and look, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned toward Miriam, and look, a leper. And Aaron said to Moshe, O my master, please do not hold against us the sin which we have done foolishly, in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead when coming out of his mother's womb, with his flesh half consumed. And Moshe cried out to Yahweh, saying, O El, please heal her. And Yahweh said to Moshe, If her father had but spit in her face, would she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her shut out of the camp 7 days, and after that let her be admitted. And Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out until Miriam was readmitted. And afterwards the people departed from Hasworth, and they camped in the wilderness of Panar. Moving on to 2 Kings, chapter 2, on page 382. And it came to be, when Yahweh was to take up Elijah to the heavens by the whirlwind, when Elijah went with Elisha from Gilead. And Elijah said to Elisha, Please remain here, for Yahweh has sent me on to Bethel. And Elisha said, and Elisha, said, as Yahweh lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you. And they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that Yahweh is taking away your master from your head? And he said, I also know, be silent. And Elijah said to him, Elisha, please remain here, for Yahweh has sent me on to Jericho. And he said, As Yahweh lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you. And they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that Yahweh is taking away your master from over you today? And he said, I also know, be silent. And Elijah said to him, Please remain here, for Yahweh has sent me to the Jordan. And he said, As Yahweh lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you. And the two of them went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood facing them at a distance, while the two of them stood at the Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the water. And it was divided this way and that, so that the two of them passed over dry ground. And it came to be when they had passed over that Elijah said to Elisha, Ask what I am to do for you before I am taken away from you. And Elisha said, Please, let a double portion of your spirit be upon me. And he said, You have made it hard to ask. Yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it is yours. But if not, it is not. And it came to be, as they continued on and spoke, that see, a chariot of fire with horses of fire, which separated the two of them. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into the heavens. And Elisha saw it, and he cried out, my father, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen. And he saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garments and tore them into two pieces. And he took up the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him, and went back and stood at the bank of the Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him, and struck the water, and said, Where is Yahweh Elohim of Elijah? And he struck the water, and it was divided this way and that. And Elisha passed over. And when the sons of the prophets who were in Jericho saw him, they said, The spirits of Elijah rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and bowed to the ground before him. And they said to him, Look, there are 50 strong men with your servants. Please let them go and search for your master, lest the spirit of Yahweh has taken him up and cast him upon some mountain, or into some valley. And he said, Send no one. But they pressed upon him till he was ashamed, and said, Send. So they sent 50 men, and they searched for 3 days and did not find him. But they returned to him, for he remained in Jericho. And he said to them, Did I not say to you, do not go? And the men of the city said to Elisha, Look, the sight of this city is good, as my master sees. But the waters are spoiled, and the soil barren. And he said, Bring me a new bowl, and put salt in it. And they brought in to him, and he went out to the source of the water, and threw salt in there, and said, Thus said Yahweh, I have healed this water. No longer shall death or barrenness come from it. And the waters were healed to this day, according to the word of Elisha, which he spoke. And he went up from there to Bethel. And as he was going up the way, some youths came from the city and mocked him, and said to him, Go up, bald head, go up, bald head. And he turned around and looked at them, and pronounced a curse on them in the name of Yahweh. And 2 female bears came out of the forest, and tore to pieces 42 of the youths. And from there he went to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria. onto Psalms 118 on page 714. Give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, because his loving commitment is everlasting. Let Israel now say, his loving commitment is everlasting. Let the house of Aaron now say, his loving commitment is everlasting. Let those who fear Yahweh now say, his loving commitment is everlasting. I call on Yahweh in distress. Yah answered me in a broad place. Yahweh is on my side. I do not fear what man does to me. Yahweh is for me among those helping me. Therefore I look on those hating me. It is better to take refuge in Yahweh than trust in man. It is better to take refuge in Yahweh than to trust in princes. All the nations surround me. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. They surrounded me. Yes, they surrounded me. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. They surround me like bees. They are extinguished like burning thorns. In the name of Yahweh I shall cut them off. Pushing the enemy pushed me to fail, but Yahweh helped me. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance, the voice of rejoicing and deliverance. Is in the tents of righteousness. The right hand of Yahweh is doing mighty. The right hand of Yahweh is exalted. The right hand of Yahweh acts mightily. Let me not die, but live, and declare the works of Yah. Yah has punished me severely, but did not give me over to death. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I enter through them. I thank Yah. This is the gate of Yahweh. The righteous enter through it. I thank you, for you have answered me, and have become my deliverance. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Prelude to Yeshua. This was from Yahweh. It was marvelous in our eyes. This is the day Yahweh has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I pray, O Yahweh, please save us now. I pray, O Yahweh, please send prosperity. Blessed is he who is coming in the name of Yahweh. We shall bless you from the house of Yahweh. Yahweh is El, and he gave us light. Bind the festival offering with cords to the horns of the slaughter place. You are my El, and I praise you. You are my Elohim, I exalt you. Give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, for his loving commitment is everlasting. Moving on to Proverbs 28 on page 754. The wrong shall flee though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Because of a transgression of a land, many are its rulers. But by a man of understanding and knowledge, right is maintained. A poor man who opposes the poor is like a sweeping rain and leaves no food. Those who forsake the Torah praise the wrong. Those who guard the Torah strive with them. Evil men do not understand right ruling, but those who seek Yahweh understand all. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than one in perverse ways who is rich. He who watches over the Torah is a discerning son, but a companion of gluttons shames his father. He who increases his possessions by interest and profit gathers it for him who shows favor to the poor. He who turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. He who causes the straight to go astray in an evil way falls into his own pit, but the perfect inherit the good. A rich man is wise in his own eyes, but the poor who has understanding searches him out. When the righteous exalt, there is great comeliness, but when the wrong arise, a man is searched for. He who hides his transgression does not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them finds compassion. Blessed is the man who always fears Elohim, for he who hardens his heart falls into evil. A roaring lion and a charging bear is a wrongdoing ruler over poor people. A leader who lacks understanding is a great oppressor, but the hater of greed prolongs his days. A man oppressed by blood guilt, flees into a pit. Let no one help him. He who walks blamelessly is saved, but the perverted of ways falls at once blamelessly. He who tills his land is satisfied with bread, but he who pursues vanities is filled with poverty. A man of truth has many blessings, but one in a hurry to become rich does not go unpunished. To show partiality is not good, because for a piece of bread a man would transgress. A man with an evil eye runs after wealth and does not know that poverty awaits him. He who reproves a man finds more favor afterwards than he who flatters with the tongue. He who robs his father or his mother and says it is no transgression, he is a companion to a destroyer. He who is greedy stirs up strife, but he who trusts in Yahweh prospers. He who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but he who walks wisely is delivered. He who gives to the poor does not lack, but he who hides his eyes does have many curses. When the wrong rise up, men conceal themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. On to Book of Acts, chapter 14, on page 1069, 1069. And it came to be in Iacon that they went together into the congregation of the Judean and spoke in such a way that great numbers of both Judean and Greeks believed. But the Judean who would not obey stirred up the nations and evilly influenced their beings against the brothers. So they remained a long time, speaking boldly in the Master, who was bearing witness to the word of his favor, giving signs and wonders to be done by their hands. And the crowd of the city was divided, and some sided with the Judean and some with the emissaries. But when a move took place by both nations, the Judean with the rulers, to mistreat and stone them, they became aware of it and fled to Lystra and Derbe, cities of Lycaonia, and the country round about. And they were bringing the good news there. And in Lystra there was sitting a certain man, disabled in his feet, crippled from his mother's womb, whom had never walked. This one heard Saul speaking, who looked intently at him, and seeing that he had believed to be healed. And he said with a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And he sprang up and began to walk. And when the crowd saw that Saul had done what Saul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in Lycaonia, "The mighty ones have become like men and come down to us. And they called Barnabas Zeus and Saul Hermes, since he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, being in front of their city, brought oxen and wreaths to the gates, and wished to offer with the crowds. And when the emissaries Barnabas and Saul heard this, they tore their garments and ran among the crowd, crying out and saying, Men, why are you doing this? We are also men with the same nature as you, bringing to you the good news, to turn you from these worthless matters to the living Elohim, who made the heaven, the earth, and the sea, and all that is in it, who in past generations allowed all the nations to walk in their own ways. Though, indeed, he did not leave himself without witness, doing good, giving us rain from heaven and fruit-bearing seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness. Even with these words, they still had difficulty in stopping the crowds from offering to them. But Euodim arrived from Antioch and Icon, and having won over the crowds, they stoned Saul, dragged him out to the city, thinking he was dead. But while the taught ones gathered around him, he rose up and went into the city. And on the next day he went away with Barbara to Derbe. And having brought the good news to that city, and having made many taught ones, they returned to Lystra and Icon and Antioch, strengthening the being of the taught ones, encouraging them to continue in belief, and that through many pressures we have to enter into the reign of Elohim. Let's repeat that. Verse 22. Strengthening the beings of the taught ones, encouraging them to continue in the belief, and that through many pressures we have to enter the reign of Elohim. And having appointed elders in every assembly, having prayed with fasting, they committed them to the Master, in whom they had believed. And having passed through Pisidia, and came to Paphlagonia, and having spoken the word in Perge, they went down to Adalisha, and from there they sailed to Antioch, where they had been committed to the favor of Yahweh for the work which they had completed. And having arrived, and having gathered together in the assembly, they related all that Elohim has done with them, and that he had opened the door of belief to the nations. And they remained there a long time with the taught ones. Shalom. Make it a great day. Read your Bible. Talk to the Father.